having me. Big fan of UMSL, big fan of Midwest Digital Marketing Conference. Forgive us, we just wrapped up a shoot right now for Brown and Crouppen for Ed Versus. I don't know, those of you who've seen the billboards for BCTV. It's a humanizing law firms in particular, Brown and Crouppen, through who these folks are. And it's been a really out of the box campaign that's been a lot of success for us, won a couple Emmys and things. So we're having a blast, as always, down here at Coolfire. We got dogs hanging out, puppies hanging out. Yeah, Julie Bonk is gonna join us later. People love when we film people eating. There we go, Toby's over here. And the man himself, Ed Herman, for those who recognize. Yeah, just wrapped up there.
Just enjoyed a delicious cool sugar fire lunch. It's an all-fire day.
Yeah. He's his own masterclass sometimes. He should speak there, as he's got a great running the law firm and a really great take on brand love and that middle funnel for industries that normally wouldn't be middle funnel. So Ed's got some great podcast appearances and things. So that's a whole other class. So I'll get to some tour here. Coolfire is a production company. We work with agencies like in town, Rogers Townsend, Osborne Bar, and we're the ones executing on the production. Then sometimes we'll have relationships like we do with Ed and Brown and Crouppen, where they're our direct clients. So sometimes agencies will come to us with storyboards, things fully fleshed out. Hey, you're just a production company. We need you to, I shouldn't say just, you are the production company. Execute on that. I'll show you some examples. And then other times we are the ones coming up with creative. So this is our main foyer. We're keeping everybody safe. We've got COVID officers. A lot of people ask us, how do you produce stuff during COVID right now? We do it very safely. We're taking temperatures. Everybody who comes on the set, we're doing hand sanitizer. Here is a conference room there for those just interested in aesthetics. We're downtown, right off Washington Street. We'll get to the main kind of client areas, but let's go on a little tour, shall we? Like Blue's Clues. This is my boss's office, Coolfire President David Johnson. So these are the kind of executive floors, CFOs. I'll get to the good stuff, I promise. My office in here, I used to work in animation, so that's Voltron, Defender of the Universe. We keep it fun, and then there's probably about half of us are all in the office, so I'll actually skip upstairs and go right to some of the production. Coolfire has 3 divisions in that we have a commercial division. That's the ones that traditionally work with agencies and brands like I described. And those are things like Missouri tourism. You're gonna be seeing a big campaign for us coming out next week for That's My Mo. And then we have the television division, where we started that in 2008 with a show called Fast and Loud that was on Discovery Channel for many years, and another show, Welcome to Sweetie Pies. We haven't stopped making television since. The networks are certainly changing. We'll do television for streaming networks. And then the division I head up, we call it the digital division, but we're all sort of digital, but it's focused on social video strategy for folks. So now I'm on the main client facing floor here. Folks hanging out, safe, socially distanced, Ross and Gina, yes, UMSL students, there we go. These are examples of our edit suites where clients will hang out. These are all Adobe Creative Cloud, Adobe After Effects, very good at finishing and color and motion effects. Kevin Johnson's room. So clients will hang out here and talk to, what's up, McNew? I didn't know you were here. Say hi to UMSL students. Look at him batting away all the good ideas. All the good, just kidding, they're the bad ideas from the clients. And then editors like Kearns working away, putting graphics and finishing touches. UMSL students, marketing club, I should say. Another client chill out area. And then Roxanne here is doing some color. Looks like on a new Supreme Clean spot. So can everybody hear and see okay? I don't know.
Yeah, everything's
so far so good.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
This is AJ. Oh, he's got some cool backlighting. He does the
recording in progress.
Helps with development, always pitching new series to networks, HGTV, Quibi, rest in peace. It's all coming to Roku though. So these are UMSL Marketing Club. So there we go. go. Talented filmmakers, development folks. I'll show you some of our audio suites here for those interested in audio. This is suite number 1. Dane works out of this one, but you've got a lot of podcasts and things done in here. So very nice, very proud of our audio techniques here at Coolfire. And then I don't know, Brent, ooh, looks like he's not in there, so we can go in. So Brent has a fabulous audio suite. So for you audiophiles, I'm sure this is mouth-watering to look at all this stuff. So then there's a whole booth in there. So a lot of fun. We'll hit the social studio and then we can get all into it. Any questions so far while I walk down these stairs? Besides, how do you log on to the Zoom? I can't help you with that. Good, nothing so far? Okay. Taking the stairs, say hi to downtown St. Louis.
Have you guys just
Go ahead.
been just blown away by the amount of views on the Brown and Crouppen TV?
Not at all, because we paid for those views. No, I say we paid for the opportunity for those views. We're not paying for views. There aren't folks just watching and stuff. We're certainly blown away by the engagement on those. And you know, we say for every $1 of production, you should spend $1 on promotion. And a lot of clients will come to us and ask us, you know, the death question of, I want to go viral, right? And we're really like, make good content, put it out there and put a little spend behind it and good things will happen. So that's very purposeful. That's a nice thing in working with folks like Brown and Crouppen who understand the way, you know, media and investing in the payment of those media. So we'll see what's going on. So UMSL Marketing Club, here we go. So these guys gripping, gapping all around. And then this is a lot where the gear and equipment hang out. So for you gearheads, I'm sure you're excited. And in my career, I started off kind of knowing a lot more of this stuff, but then I've had to let it go. And kind of that's another piece of advice is kind of pick a track and stick with it. Like if you're going to be on the technical side and you know about cameras and gears and things like that, like pick that. But you know, things like being able to sell and being able to bring projects in and manage projects, or being able to balance the budget on something, or creative ways into an industry that maybe not get thought of. So Macy's one of our producers here. We'll do a lot of things where like I may sign something in to a client and then we assign a producer to it, because there would be no way I could get down in the weeds on every single project. Katie Keppel's in there. And then a lot of technical stuff in here. Kristen Click, producer. She was the one with the doggy upstairs, the puppy. Josh McNew, our director, fantabulous guy. Another producer, Matt Beebe. So I'll go up in my room and we can, I'll show you some examples of a pitch deck, some budgets, a scope of work. I didn't know all these acronyms before I came to work here. I went to film school in Carbondale and I had to look up what a scope SOW was on my first day. So not very loud. Sorry if the signal goes a little weird. I'm in this Saw movie like elevator. Almost. There we go. And look, it's like you're a client coming to Coolfire. So, all right, there we go. There we go. Okay. And when things get a little better, you're all welcome to come on down. At them. So.
You cut off for a second. You said
Oh,
when.
so sorry.
No,
I
no.
said I do a New Friend Friday, which is a thing I do where anybody who wants just a half-hour coffee and we talk about things in the business and places to go. So, there we go. Very nice. All right. How's everybody doing? Can I share my screen? Oh, Mona, who is the dungeon master that can let me share my screen here?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. What's everybody's majors? Just start shouting out some of the things. Is it all basically, is it marketing majors? Is that what everybody's doing? Harrison, what do you got?
I'm a marketing major myself.
Got it. Got it. Are we all seniors? What are we all looking to do? stay in town, go to Chicago, go overseas. St.
that-
Louis is a huge legacy of marketing, as you all know. I encourage you to get involved with things like Ad Club, Ad2, clubs like this, but particularly you folks coming out of school and things like that, you all have that thing of, we understand how TikTok works. We understand these social platforms that befuddle dads like me. But after a while, you have to, you know, again, branding yourself and labeling yourself as a specific you know, specialty is a tip I would say for a lot of folks. Thank you. I will share the screen now. So Julie's going to hop on here in a little bit, but I wanted to take you all, if you're interested, in how a project, kind of a bit of a life cycle, if that sounds good. So we've got here the, yeah, science of blues hockey. So this is an example where, you know, a lot of the things in colleges you'll find is your network is the most valuable, and, you know, maybe not having to be, you know, oh, I'm the specialty in everything. Oh, here's my person who I know is really good at graphics, or sound mixing is fabulous as well. And I'll speak to just a little bit of the production emphasis on this. Obviously, there is other marketing channels and deliverables, another word they never taught me in college, that went into the science of blues hockey. But this is my client slash friend, Dale, a marketing manager who I knew from back when he was at Sigma Aldridge, and worked with my wife. He came to a YouTube conference we put on where we brought someone from YouTube to come here and speak about YouTube several years ago. And he had an idea here for a medical science show with their partnership on blues hockey. So we've got my client who's at Barnes Jewish Hospital. Then we have, you know, essentially their sponsor, the St. Louis Blues, us doing the production. And then, oh, by the way, in Barnes Jewish Hospital, they're with Washington University physicians. So there's always a lot to, right? There's a lot of folks in the party, and you have to make sure you're giving love to each one of those folks as a vendor in this case. So this one was just based off the idea of, hey, we want to do what happens in a blues player's body while they're on the ice. How can we build metaphors and examples around, you know, heart health and muscles and orthopedics. So we did a successful first season. This one dinner theater actor named John Hamm hosted it. I kid about that. I mean, obviously John Hamm's a big celebrity and a big blues fan as well. And so through our relationships with CAA, we were able to get to him. Actually, that one might not even been a relationship agency thing. It might have been somebody who knew him. So at Coolfire, we pride ourselves on packaging and kind of leveling things up and really making it like, wow, I didn't know we could get that person. So this was an example of a pitch deck. Forgive the formatting. You guys know how that goes with Adobe. But we talked about the results from the first season, talked about some of our goals for the next one, talked about how we filmed during the pandemic. And these episodes of the Science of Blues Hockey would air in stadium on KMOV, and as well last season, one of them got picked up by the NHL network. So all the things you want to be asking when you go into an initial meeting on production wise. And as marketers, when you're engaging a video production company, it's really important, I'd say, is to, if a brief doesn't exist, to make one. We'll make internal briefs. I don't know if you're covering some of that stuff, but a brief, fairly simple, the who, what, when, where, how of everything, and arming production companies or anyone you're going to engage with, but just even a one pager that has those primary audiences, secondary audiences. You know, here's our objective. Here's how we're going to measure success. Because as you've all may have known in your current studies, and when you get into the real world, you'd be shocked how even some of the larger Fortune 500 companies are still so all over the place and can't define their objectives. It's like Game of Thrones, you know, marketing's over here with the product people over here and these engineers. So being a good vendor, you can be the bad guy sometimes and help them, drive them to those decisions, but put it down on paper, which I'll get to later with the scope of work. So this one wasn't even finished. We had blues numbers in there, talked about our goals for season 2 production wise, rough idea of the episodes here. You can see this is nothing fancy. This was just something I did to just get an idea of everybody of like, hey, we would call this maybe a treatment, you know. There's treatments that go a heck of a lot deeper, especially when you get a director involved that's really used to like commercial directing, and there's a certain art to that. So we were looking for different hosts like Jenna Fisher, Sterling K. Brown. We ended up getting Andy Cohen for it. And forgive me, some of these budgets are probably not the best as far as best practices, showing some of that, but we'll give them a budget top sheet. Here's what it takes. Here's our next stop line. We'll go into the budget, and I think I have that right. Oh, whoops, let me pull it up in this program called Showbiz. This is an example of just a rate card. It's not even our rates per se, but this is an example as far as production wise, what we'll give them. And I know this is a lot, but we'll go through, we'll do the titles, we'll do the deliverables. There was that Pee-wee's Playhouse secret word of the day. That's what you're giving the client. And these days, when you're a video production company, you want to make sure you give them the main course and a lot of the fixins, right? So it's not just, hey, here are the hero videos. Here's the Instagram post all formatted. Here's the TikTok video. Here's stills. Here's animated GIFs, which can be, you know, engaging as well. So I'm sorry if I said GIFs the wrong way. Things we have to deal with as far as production wise, thinking about talent, thinking about union or non-union talent, Screen Actors Guild and things. Those are all going to depend on your usage and just having yourself buttoned up. I'd say even if you were doing photography or any kind of light video production, you want to make sure that location releases, these forms can be found online, but make sure legally, if you were to happen like, oh, we're just going to go in Forest Park and we're going to film there, you'll learn really quickly that you will be asked for a permit to film somewhere. So there's a whole art of using a line producer, getting permission, but I encourage you even on maybe smaller client stuff to get talent releases, let people know that, you know, hey, if you're doing this for me and you end up in a billboard and you're the next Flo from Progressive, that we're all good and you've agreed, because you don't want things getting messy up front. So there's a lot of work that goes beforehand and then afterhand on when you're producing things. So generally you go to everything, and you can see in our different stages here of the production, everything from crew, you know, your copywriters, your line producers, your director of photography. This is what we call the pre-pro stage. You know, getting in there, writing the scripts. We'll maybe have to do a scout a location. What's the power supply? Because production is just insane. It goes against Murphy's Law and everything. There's always something that will go wrong, whether on the tightest run ships, there was always something that will go weird. So it's anticipating those, and that's the advantage of working with a production company rather than, you know, your cousin Frankie who can shoot some good stuff on an iPhone. So you know, it's a tough thing because a lot of the stuff on cell phones does look good, but there's that's a certain look and authenticity that comes from that. So it really depends on, you know, what you want to convey. Production wise, you've seen all these you know, positions when you watch the end of a Marvel superhero movie, and that's why they cost $100 million as far as the work that it takes to light something. The gear, the craftsmanship of it is amazing. Everything from, you know, your microphones, your recordist, audio, to craft services, feeding people so there's nobody hangry on set, to, you know, wrap out expenses. Hey, you damaged the wall at the house, you're going to have to get that fixed. Are you paying the location fees? Location, lunch, breakfast. I've seen lunches poorly ordered that have ruined a production day and cost $100,000. So just little things like that. Animal training. I mean, there's just so much when you break it down production wise, and this is kind of our sandbox that we play in. Equipment costs, camera packages, sound, dollies, lights, hard drives. Just transferring that footage can be tricky sometimes. And then director fees when you're really working with kind of commercial level directors. You know, they'll sometimes take a percentage of the production fee and then talent and things. So making sure you have all of those things in place, working with the talent agency on casting. Are you engaging a casting director? So everything that you see when it takes from that commercial ends up on air, there's been a lot of work ahead of time. Importing the footage, your main editorial, just, you know, breaking it down, and you'll provide them with usually an estimate up front and say, you know, this space, this is where we think it will land, but sometimes you have to have the overage conversation. I think scope creep is something we use as well in our industry, of just setting out the terms. And I think especially when you're starting out, you'll take on clients that, you know, well, I just want to do this, I'm not going to make much money on it. You have to watch out for scope creep. That's why it's always good to have, and I'll show you next, a scope of work. So an SOW, and I had to look this up when I first started working here. They didn't teach this in film school. A statement of work, I call it scope of work, but it's just outlining, and you can find a lot of these things online. It's outlining what are the deliverables. This one looks like it's been through some legal, and there's nothing that'll slow down a project faster than going to legal. Those are words you should dread. And let me say, there's also a world too where you can go to legal and be producing it at the same time. A lot of times simultaneously, we'll be shooting on the set while still working out a lot of the deals, particularly with talent. But this just outlines what are the deliverables, who's doing what, signing on, this is what we're making for you. Here's that word again, deliverables. Here is the pre-production, making sure your client is providing you with the materials that you need to do your job. If Julie Bonk, who joined us here, who is our social video manager, if she doesn't have access to their Facebook or their social channels, the keys to the kingdom, she can't do her job. Or if I don't have branding elements to their logo or something in a layered form or high res, we can't do our job for them. So it is a good practice to have that statement of work and really outlines, because things do sometimes get messy, and you can always at least go back and point and say, hey, this was the scope of work outline. Even if you all are doing a social media management or something even condensed, it's a good idea to have all this outlined. We've got term payments there. A lot of folks like, what do we do? How do I get paid? What is it? A lot of you, when you're starting off, will want to do the free work and things. I would say, respect yourself and respect your time, and you're only as valuable as you present yourself. So, traditionally in production, we'll do like a 60 and then maybe another 20, 60 upon production, because that's the time where we're gonna have to pay a lot of those folks that you saw eating barbecue out there as far as freelancers and things. Not all those folks are full-time Coolfire employees, I should mention. And then, we do our first rough cut that triggers these payment milestones. So even if you're working on a smaller job or something, it's sometimes a good idea to have the payment terms listed out so everybody knows and those expectations are managed up front. And then this gets into the real legalese of, the music licensing, another often overlooked thing, music-wise, making sure you're cleared on music, because you don't want to be the one that, Facebook and YouTube have been very particular about music and will just Shazam your butt on off there. And that's not a good look for your clients. So making sure you have all of those. And that's not to say we don't deal with that every once in a while, right, Julie? There'll be some flag. We're like, we are the flag. Again, talent locations, this is just saying they're going to do their job, we're going to do ours. And this is work for hire. That often comes up where it's like you own the material. So that's good. And a lot of that's just legalese. And then you'll get to a point where you're in production. And this is an AV script where you're separating the audio and video on one side. I highly recommend, even if you're just doing a smaller shoot, to AV script this out. Maybe even look into a teleprompter for folks. Even if it's on, a smaller shoot, the last thing you want to be is right there, the lighting's good, everything's there, and you're like, an action, and it's still getting over human performance. And even somebody who you think is going to be a slam dunk, when that camera's on them, sometimes they'll freeze. So anything you can do to prepare ahead of time, giving them talking points, having even cue cards, whatever it is, that will just create the non-nightmare scenario that you could find yourself in, where suddenly you're over budget, your crew might want more money on that. So just preparation. In this case of the Science of Blues hockey, we recorded all of our doctors in the studio downstairs I showed you. So we actually had them transcribed, which is another great way, just video production wise, if you all want to be good clients to your vendors, have them transcribe an interview, and maybe you can even go in there and your brand or your client's brand and can help a video production company. They would love it if you gave them kind of like what we would call like an edit decision list or a paper edit of kind of, hey, here's the stuff we can keep in, here's the stuff we can keep out. And that can help lower costs too, because you can say, we'll do the paper edit so you don't have to spend time going through all of the footage. And then last but not least, you get an episode, like in this case, and forgive me, I gotta move the Zoom bar, can I do it? There we go. You get a thing like the Science of Blues hockey here. All that. Oh, whoops. I'm super proud of the. Oh, is it playing?
No, I think we're just able to see the that
here,
that document that you were showing.
No worries. Let's try this again. Share screen. Here we go. Oops. How about that? Heart of the Blues. Everybody seeing that?
Yeah.
Great. I'll play a little bit of that, just the opener. We got our sound design. There we go. So all the things that went into that, all the meetings.
Blues hockey gets my heart pumping, and I'm sitting on my couch. Ever wonder why your heart pumps harder when you exercise and how your body responds?
Anyway, we won't watch that. Thank you, Andy. We love you. But we'll get into, I want to give Julie a chance to talk about when we promote a video, such as our friends from Brown and Crouppen here. Let me share screen again. Excuse me, sorry. But there you go, Science of Blues Hockey. That's how that project comes about, and we love it, and we're going to do some more seasons of it. You know, there's always every little thing you saw on there that went by in a couple seconds, you know, from the fonts to the way the logo locked up to, you know, adding more ice on the end is always a meeting so far. So questions about the production side before we get into some of the promotions and kind of the handoff of when, you know, we'll make something and then give it to Julie to promote, because we really feel like that's the secret sauce to a lot of this. It's one thing to make a video. It's another thing if a video is uploaded in the woods, does anyone see it or hear it? The answer is no, usually. So we have folks like Julie who have an awesome experience at promoting and come from a world of search engine marketing and SEO and SEM. But any questions on the production side before we kind of show how it all works together?
I had one.
Yes.
I'm curious about how someone on your scale, what your naming conventions and how you organize your file structure is.
Oh my gosh, that sounds incredibly boring. No, that's Roxanne. We have an asset manager, and Kevin, you're right. To your point, it is incredibly important, and I don't even have the specific answer as far as file structure going on, but I know that, you know, we'll be shooting on a TV show and there's terabytes of data, terabytes upon terabytes of data that come in, and then they have to, just from hard drive wise, I know there's some physical tape drives up there that then go to deep storage, and then every once in a while a client will want the project. Oh, can we do something? We did that 5 years ago, and we'll have to unpack it. The St. Louis Zoo recently came back for a dinosaur spot that you may see, and that had to all be unpacked again. So while I don't know the specific naming conventions, and I can follow up on that, I can tell you it is a full-time job to just manage assets and resources. And particularly on set now, they have, you know, I'm old enough to remember when they would have, you know, tapes and you would bring the tape back. But now there's DIT and folks whose sole purpose is to make sure none of these hard drives are being corrupted. And that's a big deal. We just got done shooting. We bring it back upstairs. We give it to them, and that has to all be uploaded. So I will get back to you on naming conventions, which sounds like a snoozer, but I'm sure it'll be riveting.
Thanks.
I appreciate it. I kid. Any other production? Anyone want to get into video production? How can I talk you out of that right now? Nope, nobody. There we go. Okay. Well, let's link over to the production side. Brown and Crouppen came to us. We were doing a pizza ad, I think, and we were doing oven confessionals where people were confessing to an oven. And that client, his uncle happened to be Terry Crouppen. You know his law firm, Brown and Crouppen. And upon meeting these folks, we thought these guys are hilarious and so smart. And everybody knows Brown and Crouppen. But if you really knew them, you'd love them, and they'd be your lawyer right away. So we created this concept around BCTV, a mix of art creative. It's all a collaboration, you know, a lot of this stuff. And it's been a really interesting campaign in that it is upending kind of the sleepy legal services. If we think of our, I should say sleepy legal industry, the services are far from sleepy, but you kind of, you know, your traditional marketing funnel, everybody knows a lawyer. Do they need it right now? Well, that middle funnel, well, how do they feel about you? So we've got it down to a pretty good system right now. Ed, who you saw earlier, has one of the breakout shows, Ed Versus, where it started off with just movies and, you know, Ed talking about how Kevin is the villain in Home Alone, or how many laws does Batman break in the Dark Knight, and it's turned into a lifestyle series. And Ed, if you met him, as some of you did out there, he is a quirky but so knowledgeable And so he has tackled everything from his Facebook habits to mixing cereal, which was a game changer for me, and to all of these life hacks, and has amassed a fan base. Julie, what's his Facebook up to? 15,000 folks?
Yeah, we have quite a few Facebook likes, but that's not really, I wouldn't recommend, if you're going to set a benchmark for Facebook success, don't set it on the follower count. They have 32,000 followers on Brown and Krupin's page, but that's separate from his own he has like his own celebrity page where he promotes his content differently. I can pull that up for you as well.
Yeah, no, I grabbed it too as well. But to Julie's point, a lawyer now, this partner at the law firm, now has his own fan page. And I mean, that's the good thing about making content, putting it out there. I have no idea where cheerleaders are showing up. Cheer activity, is it a law firm? That has become its own thing. Brown and Krupin, you can see they put BCTV because it's like, yeah, everybody knows them, but how do you feel about the lawyer? So Julie will promote an episode. Right now, she's promoting this episode of a show they came up with called 3 Lawyers Eating Sandwiches, which, spoiler, is about 3 lawyers eating sandwiches. We did it before the pandemic where it was them supporting local restaurants. And if you'd hang out with these guys or have lunch with them, this is exactly what it's like to hang out with them. And you see how they're really caring human beings. They love St. Louis. They love the community.
What a lucky guy.
You guys familiar with the menu? Do you have any questions?
It's a mix of comedians in cars getting coffee with, a Food Network show. The guys are hilarious. And it showcases local businesses. So we're really proud when Julie promotes this, and you can see a little bit of the inside there of how many people reached and engagements so far. It really helps these local businesses. And who knew that, eating sandwiches would be a civic duty someday. Julie, you want to talk about the promotional work that goes into this? As far as, it's one thing, again, to do a video. Now I give it to Julie, and she is able to actually get people to not only watch it, but engage with it. I could probably even find a sample dashboard to pull up.
I would. So my only caution about the dashboard is it does have dollar amounts on it.
Well, I've got a sample one that has.
Okay, yeah. So
I'm going to stop the share and let you talk.
Yeah, so my name is Julie Bonk. I am the social video manager here at Coolfire. And what that means is that I take the video content and then I promote it on social media. I have experience promoting content on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest. Oh God, it just, the video just cut to me really big. So I probably foreseen.
And cut to Julie.
You guys have been doing Zoom all semester, but for me, it's less frequent. So on Brown and Krupin, we had to decide what the strategy was going to be, who we were trying to reach, and what the outcomes that we were looking for. So Brown and Krupin is not a national brand, it is a regional brand with very regional offerings. So in Facebook and YouTube, you're able to target down to the DMA level, or you could also target by radius. So we've decided that we are going to be targeting the markets that they're active in, which are St. Louis and Kansas City. And then we want to dominate and saturate those markets. There are 2 types of consumers that we've identified that we're going after. Everybody in St. Louis can fit one of 2 criteria. They've either seen the content before or they haven't. So we dice up the audience accordingly. We split it up using the targeting features available in Facebook, and we specifically target people who haven't seen the content before because we want as many people in St. Louis to be familiar with the brand as possible. We run each premiere for 4 weeks. I don't want to get too into the details about it. We have several levels of previous interaction with the content. People who have seen 3 seconds, people who have watched 15 seconds, people who have watched 100% of the video. And depending on which level of engagement or no engagement previously, they're split into different audience segments that we have budgets against. And depending on the performance of those audiences, we change that budget level. We're judging performance based off of things like retention rate. We want to have longer views on our video, and then also engagement rate. I largely recommend focusing on rates if you're going to be comparing audiences of different sizes to one another. A little bit more about my background. Before I was working full-time at Coolfire, I was working in New York City at a firm called Spark and Foundry, and I worked on the NBA and the WNBA, regularly working with those teams, seeing them in person, going to rooftop bars. A very, very cool team to work with. I loved working with the NBA. Their offices are so cool. They had like a half court in one of the lobbies, and that was pretty nice. So I did search engine marketing for them, and then I started working in social about a year after that, and I was working on Outback Steakhouse, European Wax Center, Travelers Insurance. That was mostly LinkedIn.com though, which I, have certain grievances against as a platform for social engagement. And so I worked in both search and social, and I'm not quite sure what the interest level for everybody on this call is, but if you do have any sort of interest, it is an industry that's growing, and it's pretty easy to get a foot in the door. There are online courses provided by Google and Facebook and Twitter to get certifications, to get up to speed. And it's actually a pretty easy thing to dabble with on your own. You could start seeing actionable results for very low budgets of like $20 if you're like on a club, or you have a small business in your family that you would like to contribute to and try to get some work with. You could start seeing some actionable results for very low investment. And so, I am always going to be an evangelist for social media marketing. It's an expanding field, and it's transforming very quickly. So if you could start learning about it while you're in school, you're going to have a very competitive advantage over other people. An exciting thing about it is just the technology that we're able to use, the level of data that we're able to discover. That is a changing landscape, but it is exciting what you're able to tell about an audience before you serve them content. And then also being able to work with brands to make sure that they're reaching the right people instead of annoying the wrong people. That's exciting, because as a consumer, I hate it when ads that I don't care about show up in front of me. So I love working with brands who actually want to reach the right people.
We're so lucky to have Julie in that she's a passionate content creator herself, understands, loves video. The things we talk about are, how are we grabbing people in the first 6 seconds, views, and you kind of heard her touch a little bit on, what is the measurement to get excited about. Everybody is obsessed with views, and we kind of look at that as, yes, that's nice. It's more of a vanity metric. We're looking at things like completion time and, watch time, and did they take action at the end. And Julie, I do have a dashboard that is safe. This is something we made long ago. I don't know if you can see this, but here's just a glimpse into it. And it's not as nice as Julie's reporting is now, but this is, a very simple spreadsheet, but measuring things from impressions to paid views. I don't know if you want to whip through this, if everybody's interested. I know this is no filing convention, Kevin, but it is. This is fascinating. I think Julie can then go back to us sensitive creatives and say, hey, put a dog in the first 6 seconds, usually what it is, something that like, what is the grabber? This video for whatever reason didn't, get as much of a completion time, or hey, this one's a sleeper video. So Julie, I don't know if you can see the dashboard, maybe whip through some of the things to get you excited.
So, so this is a sample dashboard, but this is, I can kind of describe what's going on here. So we've got the metrics, and we have a KPI column that tells us what the client is actually looking for. They're looking for their paid views and the things that we would consider helpful when evaluating the performance of these campaigns, because they're 4 separate campaigns, would be the cost per view and then also the view through rate. So that cost per view that we're seeing there is for a lifetime total of 2.4 thousandths of a cent, and the 2 highest campaigns came at just under 3 cents. So we would be able to see that the most efficient, just on a cost basis, was sample number 3. You would have to know what the creative was to really judge that. But for some reason, that one went a lot further. So for the client, they probably would look at that one as the big success, unless we start to actually look at the retention rate and see that a lot of people dropped off at 75% of the video. are 25%. When we're reporting to our clients and there's something like a view objective as the KPI, the key performance indicator, we would look at that 75% view mark. And the reason for that is near the end of the video, you get the outro, right? Where you wrap things up. You say like, follow us on our social media, subscribe, like our page. And that's probably going to take up at least, I don't know, 10% of the end of the video. So we want to look at that 75% retention mark to decide whether or not it was successful at retaining users instead of that 100%. Because in the last 5 seconds of the video, you're not getting anything new or anything compelling. So that sample 3 was particularly successful at retaining users all the way to the end.
And Julie, what drives down a cost per view besides your brilliant targeting?
Okay, so there are a couple of things. So it depends on like what platform you're on or what kind of ads you're running. Google Ads has a really comprehensive algorithm that helps decide your cost per view. And I don't know how much the individuals on this call know about digital marketing, but for many of the platforms like Facebook and Google, whenever a user loads the page, there is a real-time auction on all of the ad slots to decide what ads are going to show up for this person. And this auction is based off of things like, what are their demographics, right? Do they fit the audience that the advertiser is targeting? And if so, then that advertiser enters the auction for that user. And there are various different metrics involved, like the max bid that the advertiser has placed. So the maximum amount of money that they're willing to spend to show up in that ad placement. So that's one thing. Then the second thing is the performance of that ad with other users. So if this ad has a really low click-through rate or a really low view-through rate, which is how many people who receive the ad watch it, then it's going to be more expensive for it to show up. The platforms are looking for the most efficient ad and the most relevant ad. So you'll be penalized if the creative isn't good. I always say that good content is its own marketing. That's why we make good content at Coolfire. We're not gonna, try to make sucky ads and get them in front of people. Like that's not good for anyone. So we always advocate for the most compelling content. So we've got the max bid, we've got the performance of the ad. Those are 2 really big parts of it. On Google, they also take into consideration the landing page experience. So if the landing page is like really buggy, takes a really long time to load, or users bounce very quickly after landing on the landing page, then it has a lower quality score. And the quality score is one of those things that's going to contribute to either a higher cost per view or a cost per click or a lower cost per click. So when we're looking at that cost per view, we're seeing what the aggregate total of the auction results are. And so for that one creative, it's a 2.2 thousandth of a cent or 2.2 cents, which is really competitive. I believe, just from looking at this, I would say that this is probably a YouTube. Let's see. I can't tell that easily.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yes, I can. So this is a YouTube because YouTube shows the view through to 75%, 20% in percentages, while Facebook does it in whole numbers. So this is a YouTube dashboard. And so that cost per view is incredibly competitive. This time of the year, we would expect to see something like around 4 to 5 cents. At the beginning of the year, when all of the big agencies haven't renewed their media budgets yet, this is a little bit of insider baseball, we see numbers closer to under 3 cents. So that's what's going on in this dashboard.
Y'all didn't think you'd get a masterclass in dashboards, but it just shows you this stuff that you're in class and you're like, I'm a video producer. I don't need to know about cost per views and things. It's the people who can marry creative with the data, and you're going to have a much easier time selling these CMOs if you're walking in with data to support some of those creative decisions. And that's what's so brilliant about the time we live in right now, which is so awesome, is that Julie and I were in these meetings with folks and like, A or B, let's test it. Let's A/B test it. And you have the world right now between these great platforms where you can test this stuff. And there's good things and bad things, as Julie alluded to, about each of the platforms. Some of them are, best, but it really starts with the audience. And that's what we do. Tomorrow we'll be on with a potential new client. We're talking about who is the audience, drilling them down. So really recommend that piece of advice Julie gave at the top there of start with a small business, start with someone, make the mistakes on that. But if you can walk into rooms and speak a little bit of that language, even if you're selling yourself as a, the creative and be able to, and all of you as marketing majors, it seems like should be able to speak, but broadly marketing and just where does video fit in and to all the other marketing channels. And as we all know, the internet's turning into one big video stream. So fantastic. Any questions here for Julie? And is our heart out at 1:30 or how are we doing, Mona?
No, it's fine. I mean, if anyone has questions, that's, yeah.
Got it.
Mhm.
Got it. Great. So we touched on a bit of production there. You've heard, the other side of the promotion. Again, working hand in hand is something that we found because lots of people can make beautiful pictures. I can talk about, the television development side of Coolfire as well, whatever you all would like to steer the conversation. TV commercial wise, delivering to specs or sort of, if you want to talk about budget ranges, whatever anybody's interested in as far as just marketing wise.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'd like to know, as far as like producing video ads, what kind of differences you've noticed between what works like on television versus like Facebook or like YouTube?
Sure.
Pre-roll.
Yeah. It's interesting. And Julie, feel free to pepper in, but your, over the top, your TV experience is becoming more customized, right? More digital, more, well, customized is the word, more tailored and more targeted, right? When you look at platforms like Hulu and the idea of what is TV anymore, is TV my cell phone now? My kids would say it is. I'm watching TV. So yeah, there's still a very robust worlds of your standard 30s, 15s, maybe even 6-second ads. But what's fun about the digital side is where we can play, and where Julie and I have found a lot of success is running longer form content. It sounds counterintuitive that we're running 10-minute videos as YouTube pre-roll ads, but we've all been served those up, and you go down the YouTube wormhole and you're like, whoa, I just started watching this. And we'll see that on content Julie promotes for Brown and Group. And I didn't mean to watch this, but I stayed for all of 3 lawyers eating sandwiches, and now I'm hungry, and now I'm going down to Max Local Eats. So we love the idea we're just talking about, this last ad versus maybe this is a 10-minute, maybe this is a 22-minute episode. Some of our first shows we promoted were like a Goodwill show, Thrift Shop Divas, where it was, these 15-minute episodes. So that really opened up into, we don't need a distributor like a traditional network, but we love to sell it where it's like, hey, we're not anti-TV, they all must work together. And in the Brown and Crouppen case, yeah, Julie's getting millions of views promoting this stuff on Facebook, which we kind of found, we promote Facebook and YouTube, but for many reasons, Facebook, would you say, Julie, is kind of the priority platform in the shares and engagement?
Yeah, so Facebook has more robust audience targeting, and we are seeing the entire landscape just change, in real time, just as a result of like antitrust legislation and proposed legislation. But what I wanted to say in particular is that when I was at the media buying agency, I was on Outback Outback Steakhouse, and all of those brands, the Bloomin' brands, Carrabba's, Bonefish Grill, Fleming Steakhouse, and they run television spots. And I was on the digital media team, and I was just like, what are you doing? The analytics for television is nowhere near the analytics for digital marketing. And so just every year we would see those budgets start to slowly divert. And of course, the representatives from TV were not very happy about it, but me on the digital media team, we were having a little dance every time that the budgets came in. I'm a huge advocate for digital over television, but now television is playing catch up in a lot of ways. And to Jeremy's point, like, what is television, right? Like Hulu is starting to roll out more self-serve, like it's called like self-serve, like you can
ad
log
experience.
Yeah, so well, it's just that like a media buyer like me, I can log into Spotify or any of these other ones like TikTok and put ads up. Like I don't need to go through a rep like like traditional TV, like you have to know somebody in order, right? You have to like call up their guy and start a
Right.
relationship. Whilst, you know, Hulu is breaking away from that. So like on behalf of Coolfire, I could set up an account and start serving ads now. So as we see, like it's hard to shift that way, we are seeing different data being provided. Yeah, there are ways to like kind of back into the metrics that TV provides. Like they deliver on something called cost per thousand, CPM. And so when I was working in an environment where we had to compare our performance, we would like back into it, but just organically or just naturally, the metrics don't really compare. You're able to track everything much more granularly through digital marketing than with traditional marketing.
Yeah, yeah, but it's so Kevin, on our deliverables, like we'll do for Brown and Crouppen a broadcast spot, not always the same thing, but you know, there's still those traditional specs, there's still those traditional, you know, 30s and 15s that you got to hit. Josh McNew, our director, I mean, we're doing stuff for Energizer, so Julie may be, you know, promoting 30s on their behalf, or something that's, you know, there's a scripted comedy series that we recently did for a brand, and we're promoting that and testing it. So I think I should mention too that like branded entertainment is an exciting area that you all can get a part of, as far as like, you know, brands are looking for different ways now that everyone has control over their ad experience, and many times it's just skip. What are ways of product integration, you know, kind of even gets into influencers and things and setting those up. We always say let the brand be their own influencer, and we're big proponents of the brand itself becoming a trusted site. You know, my first thing I'd say to any small businesses that you work with is, what's that search friendly video that you could even shoot on a cell phone that just talks about lawn chairs or whatever, and be that we've all used, you know, how do I change an oven light and things, and all these things our parents didn't show us. We now rely on YouTube and things. So that's just easy ways that can be a long tail to some of that. So, but we're still excited. Yeah, broadcast, you'll be seeing our Missouri tourism ads and things. But yeah, it's awesome. And like Brown and Crouppen will take the best of and put that out onto you know, television slots of a half hour. So it's kind of the best of YouTube, and that reaches a whole other demographic that may not be on their smartphones all the time. So what else? Good question, Kevin. Other questions from the group? You guys all going into marketing?
So I was
ready?
thinking
Yeah.
something else I could kind of throw into that is you can use digital to kind of like market test before you put something on traditional. So like I said earlier, you could get some pretty good learnings from very low investments. So we are doing that for some of our clients, where it's like kind of a very extravagant A/B test where we have several different concepts that we produced, and we're testing them before we pursue a larger campaign. And so you could do this as well. So this is a really nice way that they work together, is you could kind of see how it performs online before you invest more in it, make more of it, and then put it on TV. So that's another nice tactic.
Yeah, and before I forget, getting an internship somewhere, and UMSL certainly has a robust plan for that. Getting yourself in at some agency, no matter where, even a small one, big one, but just being able to listen in the rooms and just understand the, you know, client needs and discovery. Every agency has their own cultures and things. I feel like a lot of those soft skills are needed, and you don't necessarily have to be, you know, a superstar coming in. You can just absorb, be dependable, be willing to do, you know, I'd say just about anything that needs to be done. I mean, I was cleaning up a floor here, getting scuff marks off of it. Like, don't be too big for any job. And if you seize the opportunity that, you know, something comes up. Julie was a former intern of ours, and we always knew she was just super smart. We tried to hire her like 3 times, and the timing worked out like on the 4th time. But I just really encourage folks, whether that is, and I'll say another career path that I think, and I'll brag on you some more, Julie, is going to that big city first and working on these brands, you know, that, you know, and I know for just, you've been in some tough rooms and had some tough calls and things, and then being able to come back to, I mean, we'll say a smaller market like St. Louis and have a nice backyard and a dog and everything, like that is a nice move. If a lot of you are at a crossroads of, should I take a big move somewhere? The answer is yes, because you can always come back and you've got a little bit of a glow when you get, like, I've been in those rooms, like get all those, get that tough hustle You know, and then starting your own kind of niche thing too is another way where you're like, hey, I'm going to help out restaurants, or I'm going to help out nonprofits, or socially, you know, engage folks and work for that. So a lot of things need marketing, and it's one of those things that people don't think they need, and it's always the first thing that gets cut and goes when these big corporations, you know. But you know, just humanize it. Don't try to BS the room. And I think a lot of the times that's our struggles and things too, is just humanizing things and really thinking about the end user experience. And I think it's easy to get caught up in the vernacular and the, you know, the marketing buzzwords, but like, how are we providing value just from a simple thing? And that value might even be entertaining folks and making them laugh. But I know we're a firm believer in just, you do something good for someone, you provide useful information, you'll tend to give something in return. So it's super exciting. You can get in on the brand side, maybe even at a smaller place, like some of your favorite brands, especially if you're a big super fan of them. I think that's a way. Hey, let me help you. I saw you're on Instagram and I love your blank, your shoes, whatever, and helping them might be another way in. But it's a slog for marketing, especially. You see people leapfrog around town to the different agencies, and now I'm over here. But it's strongly encouraged to get involved in, again, things like Ad Club or Ad2, and you can just start to network and know the folks and kind of discover who you want to be. What else? You've got Julie Bonk on here. Ready. She will be speaking at the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference on audience retargeting, which is that what it is, Julie, or it's segmentation?
Yeah, so it's on audience targeting, so I will be talking about segmentation as well.
Both.
You know, just all the
Yeah.
exciting stuff like cold audiences, warm audiences, descriptivist versus prescriptivist audience targeting. You know, very, very exciting stuff.
Samir has a good question. How do you find clients? Do you reach out to them, or do they discover you? The answer is both. And that is another area of marketing that if you discover, or I should say, if you emphasize and really work on new business, you will be able to travel to many places. And as in that, like, no one will turn down the person that is able to get new clients. My philosophy is make new friends. And I have friends that are clients and clients that are friends. Sometimes that's dangerous. I never let it get in the way, but I just, you know, thankfully at Coolfire, word of mouth has been a big thing. David Johnson, the president, he really started a thing. Jeff Keen started Coolfire, and David Johnson helped come in and really establish a lot of agency relationships. We would throw parties. We would throw Pinewood Derby parties. We're kind of known for our Halloween parties. And that was a way that we would get to know people. And then they would see the work. And let's face it, we all want to work with people who are fun. And we have a culture here that is crazy, but a lot of fun, and people, you know, it's a recess. I've heard clients say coming to Coolfire is like a recess, and that's why it's purposely designed to be a fun place where clients want to hang out. But we've had a lot of success too over Zoom of just clients being able to join. So it's definitely quality of work. It's word of mouth. But as you all know, there are methods from CRMs to just, you know, putting things out, outbound and inbound marketing strategies. But I think it comes down to making friends, honestly. And you know, so it's a mix. We'll get people reaching out, we'll get past clients that'll just suddenly come up. But it is also a hustle, make no mistake about it. There are days where I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to make some new clients. And that day, inevitably, someone will reach out and say, you did a video for us 5 years ago, we want to do it again. I think doing little trial things, starting small with something, proving yourself out, getting the trust, is a way, and being flexible on budgets. You're going to have to sometimes just say, hey, we believe in what's going on. We're going to be flexible. Again, it's a balance of scope creep and not being taken advantage of. So find that. Think about your hourly. Think about your rate card. Make yourself a rate card. You know, in the professional industry we're in, like they do things called blended rates and things. You know, about 150 an hour, I'd say, for a pro. But like, if you need to come in, whatever, 75, 50, just think about what your rate is that you can still eat ramen noodles on. But, you know, being young and not maybe being weighed down by stuff helps too. So I hope that answered the question there. It's a mix of both, or throw a cool party.
Yeah.
Get a band.
Something I would add to that is like when you find that you're working with somebody that you really like working with, like a client, you know, really nurturing that relationship, you know, like deciding like, I really like to work with you. So maybe we will be more flexible on budget or whatever it takes. But then there's also circumstances where you have to decide who you don't want to work with. right? Like employee morale, team morale is very important. And sometimes you've got like somebody in the room who pays you a lot, but they're not very nice. And, you know, you have to ask yourself, like, is it worth it to work with this team, especially when we don't necessarily need them, you know? And so I think it kind of goes both ways. You know, you have to know when to shake hands and when to leave. And so, yeah, it is exciting. Like some of my coworkers are really good at like making the deal and like closing on a deal, right? That's a really great skill. And if you find that you have that is something worthwhile to develop.
Yeah, do a lot of listening. You know, I think that's the thing. And I'm still reminding myself of that because I'll say, you know, taking notes during a call, coming back to the client where you've heard them when your presentation, you're putting things in. The client, I never like us to be, you know, caught that like I already sent you the logo, or, you know, those are the little things. So that account management skill is another one, and another area that you can emphasize yourself. If you're a people person like me, you can really say like, I am client success manager is a title you'll hear thrown around, but like calling them up when you don't need anything and what's going on and remembering. So there's all these traditional sort of sales things of remembering their birthday or just, you know, hanging out, having tours and things like that. So I think everyone can add a bit of value to, you know, whatever it is. And as Julie says, you probably will have a mix later on in your career of like, these are the clients that pay the bills. These are the ones I'm passionate about. They don't always have the same rate cards and things. And taking on something that may not pay great, but you're going to get submit for awards, right? Submit for things, and that helps get a lot of attention too. You know, they'll come on. What else? How are we doing on time, Mona? 1:35.
Yeah, it's 1:35.
Yeah, we can maybe wrap things up, or
Yeah.
Sure.
Unless anybody has any final questions they want to ask.
And no worries, if anything comes up or you're too shy, let us know in the emails or whatnot. Always open book, as you can tell, but really encourage folks, go to things like the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference, meet people there. They're all just strangers or your friends you haven't made yet. Just, you know, don't be afraid. Hey, what are you doing? Because we're all kind of in this together. Nobody knows what they're doing. All right. That's a William Goldman quote for Hollywood. But I swear to you, I have friends who own agencies and they're just like, dude, I don't know. Like nobody knows what to charge anymore. It's like all in the beholder. So just learn from each other and just be good humans, you know, especially now. I think that's more valued than ever as far as just some behaviors, as Julie alluded to, of just screamers and things. It's just, you get older like me maybe, and you're like, not worth it. Like not worth it in the room as tempting as it is. And be good, you know, human beings back and provide value, and you'll do just fine. And you know, but go on the big adventures. So yes, you're welcome, Andrew or Angie, Richard. There we go, Ciara. You're welcome. There you go. Well, I hope you got something out of it. And if anybody needs anything else, we'll see you at MDMC. And thanks for having us on. Thank you, Julie.
Your advice has been awesome. Thank you so much, Jeremy and Julie. We really appreciate it. I will definitely be tuning into your talk at MDMC.
Perfect, gang. Good luck, everybody. Be safe. Be good humans.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go eat lunch now. Eat some good sugar fire now. I'm so happy.
Bye-bye.
Talk soon, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.